So we're talking about the lifestyle that chooses our age. And with that being the case, if we're not intentional, meaning deciding and taking action, we're not going to get the lifestyle, the desired lifestyle that we want to live. So this is a continuation of last week, what we talked about as far as how to own and influence your biological age. My name is Ryan Sanders. I'm the owner and lead coach of Project Fresh. And here we cover topics like this every week, Monday. So for over the last 13 years, going on 14 now, I've helped people take control of their health, optimize their performance, and build sustainable habits that stick. I'm a certified strength and conditioning specialist and also a certified sports nutrition coach. And so I've had the opportunity to work with everyone from athletes to busy professionals, busy moms, people in clergy, people in humanitarian, people in nonprofits across the board. And I've coached them through not only just the science, which is our foundation, but also the real world challenges that we face in our fitness and nutrition. So here I share the stories, the lessons, and the systems that make long-term wellness possible. I'm going to give you guys just a little bit of a sneak peek on our presentation that we have. We're just going to talk about this a little bit more. I got into it a little bit, but what I wanted to share with you guys really quick today was I was out walking the dog early before I got my first session in. The missus is out, so I'm getting him out the door before I get into everything else I have in the morning. And as I was walking, we're making our way through the usual route that he and my wife have put together. And all of a sudden, there's kids everywhere. School is back in, right? So you might be a parent who's getting getting their kids back to school. It starts early here in we're here in Denver. And what's funny is that I'm spacing on where I am. I don't know why that's the case, but it starts early here. So I think kids have been back to school for at least a week now, if not a little bit more. And of course, our dog is very friendly as a Bernese, loves people of any kind. So I was navigating another way around. But as I'm making my navigation with him, I'm seeing people out doing their morning routine. A couple runners, a couple walkers, a couple bikers, getting it in, getting their workout started before they start their work day, before they get the kids to school. They're taking the kid to school in their bike that has a basket for the kid to sit in, drop the kid off at preschool. There's a little preschool that's just a couple blocks from us. And then they're riding back home. So they're either doing their fitness and getting their kid to school or doing their fitness and then starting their day. And that is something that they've actively decided to do. One, because that's the benefit of that is what they want. They've decided the lifestyle that they want to experience. What's the word I want to have? It's their desired lifestyle. Yes, it's what they want to experience. But two, they're intentional about it. A Monday morning isn't an easy day to get up and do that, right? Coming off the weekend generally is more relaxed, less to do. Generally, not saying that's always the case. But come Monday, you gotta decide, right? So in that context, I really want to be clear in this that the lifestyle you choose determines your experience, but it also determines your age. And I want to share this with you guys really quick. This is a little bit of my presentation that we're doing for our workshop tomorrow night. It's going to be at 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. If you guys want the details, drop Zoom in the comments. That'll be our takeaway for today. If you want the details, drop Zoom in the comments. It's going to be tomorrow night, okay, 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. So we'll get you guys connected. But with that being said, I just want to share this real quick. I don't get to see the whole thing here. So how do we change or influence our biological age? I talked about this last week and I want to talk about it again. We do so through food, through exercise, through drinking water, through sleep, through managing chronic stress and anxiety, the ways with which we measure our VO2 max, our skeletal muscle mass, our muscle strength. The VO2 max is considered the strongest measurable predictor of longevity. What is VO2 max? Just kind of give you the quick definition. It's the highest amount of oxygen your body can use during hard exercise. I like to tell people it's how well your lungs and your heart get oxygen back into the body and then allow you to stay at a threshold. Imagine that you're on a football field and you have to run 10 yards in front of you, turn around and run back to the goal line and do that 5 times as fast as you can. Every time you go down, it's harder, right? So your heart and your lungs are what determines if you can maintain the breath you need to keep doing that, or if you get that heaviness of breath, it's going to be a lot harder to complete 3, 4, and 5 for those laps. So those are how we typically influence our age, right? In this case, we're talking about not necessarily how chronologically old we are, but how our cells are, how old our cells are, how old we are. One thing that I like to share here is that your biology, your cells, your VO2 max tells you how well you're living. And I asked the question, and I want to ask this question to you guys. How many of you here feel older than you actually are? So if you've been around the sun 42 years, do you feel older than you actually are? Do you feel older than 42? And then if that is the case, raise your hand. Now, let's say you're 42 but you feel younger, raise your hand. So far, I haven't had anybody say they feel younger yet. So I'm still putting that poll out there. But that's something to really focus on. The lady with the thumbs up is just me saying this is my preferred method. This is the tried and true, the go-to. But how else can we influence our biological age and take it further? And so there are a lot of other options that are out there. If you see people running around with the Oura rings or the watches of various kinds, the Apple watches and the Garmin's and the Whoops. You've got people that are doing peptides. Peptides have grown in the last couple of years. You've got people doing IV infusions. One of the ones that's big right now is NAD+, if you're familiar with that or if you've heard of that. B12 shots is another one that's a big one. I worked at a athletic club and they brought a company in that were doing B12 and full vitamin profile shots and saline shots for hydration, stuff like that. And then also supplementation. And so if you guys want to see more of this, then like I said, go ahead and drop Zoom and I'll get you the details for that workshop tomorrow night. So you guys can see more about that. But ultimately, you have to decide on what you're going to do. It's not going to come to you magically. You're not just going to inherit it. It's not going to just all of a sudden be fruit that falls from the tree that you didn't grow. You got to plant that seed. You got to put it into the ground. You got to cultivate it. You got to water it. It's got to sprout. It's got to come out of the ground. It's got to grow up into the plant or the tree, whatever it is, whatever your analogy you want it to be. Used to live in the Bay Area, so we talk about vines and grapevines to make wine. Those vines have to grow first, and then they have to be put up on the trellises, right? They need to be cultivated. When those the roots or the vines are established, and we get the branches, which then produce the grape, right? The fruit. And there's some pruning that has to be done, right? You don't use all the branches to get the best grape, because if you have more branches, those roots, if you have more vines, I was right. If you have more branches, those vines have to do more work, right? They have to send nutrients and water to more legs, to more that are coming off of it. So we have to prune some of those so we can get the water and the best nutrients to those grapes. I know nothing about growing grapes. I just know that much, right? It was a big thing in Silicon Valley. If you've ever been, everybody goes to wine country, right? And the hydration and the soil and the season, the weather, all of these different factors that play into how good the quality of the grape is, which translates to how quality the wine is, right? What were good years, what were bad years, that's all determined on the harvest. We can't have a harvest if we don't set the soil up, if we don't cultivate, if we don't water, if we don't plant seed even. So you want to have a lifestyle that you desire that You're waking up with energy. You don't have brain fog. Your body's feeling good. We got to pick. I think option one and option two are really good. I'm not a proponent of IVs, so that's where I'll talk more about it in my workshop tomorrow. And then if you're here local in Denver, we've got one in person out in Green Valley Ranch on Saturday morning, 10:30. So if you're interested in that, let me know. Drop GVR, Gary Victor Romeo, GVR in the comments. I'll get connected with you and we'll talk about it, get you the info so you can come. But long story short, you don't set your foundation. Like I see these people running, biking, walking. I'm sure they're probably getting a little protein in, some water, some electrolytes, whatever they're doing. You don't set that foundation, you're not going to reap the benefit. And so that's what we have. And there's a direct correlation. We see this. You've probably met a 60-year-old that acts like a 40 or a 35-year-old. And you've probably met a 50-year-old that looks and acts like an 80-year-old. I guarantee you've worked with one. You've been in family with one, associated to one. You might even be married to one. It might be, so if that's the case, we ultimately decide. And only 10% of that comes from our genetics, from what mom and dad give us. Now, I know there are going to be some implications. There's going to be maybe some rare diseases and genetics and things like that might factor into this equation. Maybe related to heart, maybe related to diabetes, maybe related to other things where those percentages can come up, but our lifestyle still can help us determine what that looks like. And it's totally up to you. I think like in anything else, right? If a person is broke, meaning they don't have the cash that they want to live, they can either decide to be poor or they can decide to make the adjustment. Right now, obviously in this day and age, doing that is a lot harder than it used to be. So there's all the challenges. But why do I use the context of money? Because the finances are just as emotional, just as challenging, just as difficult to cultivate and to grow as it is the health, and yet they're connected. So if we establish health and we really work to have it, it really helps us with cultivating wealth and passing it on. If we do not have the health that we want later on in life, it can suck up whatever wealth we have, zap it, absorb it, take it away. So there are implications here. Excuse me. That being said, if you want to join us tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, so that's 5 on the West Coast, 8 on the East Coast, drop Zoom in the comments. If you're here local in the Denver area and you're watching, drop GVR, Gary Victor Romeo, and I'll share with you the details on what we have this Saturday, coming this Saturday morning. All right, I hope you guys are doing well. We'll see you soon. We'll see you next week for our Monday Lunch Live, and I'm sure we'll be talking more about what we did today. So you guys have a great one. Be well. Enjoy your week. And